Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapidam Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupagada Mayam Dadati Swabharantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Sri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sahagana Raghunatham Nitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parigana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishatan Vitamscha He Krishna Kuruna Sindho Dinabando Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Hori Priye Vanchakapachuvascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patithanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naramachaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayem Udidayet Nasta Presho Badreshu Nityam Bhagavat Shevaya Bhagavat Yutama Shloki Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki. Today is Thursday, October 9th, 2025. Where is the fly that always comes on Thursday? He's not here. Oh, he's over there. Oh, he's just waiting for me to get going. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Creation of the Fourth Order. Chapter 30, the activities of the Prachetas. Text number 3. Maitreya Uvacha Pracheta Sontar Udadhau Pitur Adesha Karinaha Japaya Gina Tapasa Puranjanam Matoshayan Pracheta Sonta Udadhau Piturade Shakarinaha Japaya Gina Tapasa Puranjanam Matoshayan Pracheta Sonta Udadhau Pitur Adesha Karinaha Japaya Gina Tapasa Puranjana Matoshayan
Maitreya Uvacha Pracheta Sonta Udadhau
Pracheta Sonta Udadhau
Japayagina Tapasa
Puranjana Matoshayan
Maitreya Uvacha
Pracheta Sonta Udadhau Piturade Shakarinaha Japayagina Tapasa Puranjanam Matoshayan Maitreya Uvacha Pracheta Sonta Udadhau Piturade Shakarinaha Japayagina Tapasa Puranjana Matoshayan. The synonyms, please repeat. Maitreya Uvacha. Maitreya said. Pracheta Saha. The Prachetas. Antaha. Within. Urudhau. The sea. Pitaho. Of their father. Adesha Karinaha, the order carriers. Japayagina, by chanting mantras. Tapasa, under severe austerities. Puranjanam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Matoshayan, satisfied. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. The great sage Maitreya said, the sons of King Prachina Barhi, known as the Prachetas, underwent severe austerities within the seawater to carry out the order of their father. By chanting and repeating the mantras given by Lord Shiva, they were able to satisfy Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Please repeat. The great sage Maitreya said. The sons of King Prachina Barhi, known as the Prachetas, underwent severe austerities within the seawater to carry out the order of their father. By chanting and repeating the mantras given by Lord Shiva, they were able to satisfy Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. One can offer prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly, but if one repeats the prayers offered by great devotees like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, or if one follows in the footsteps of great personalities, one can please the Supreme Personality of Godhead very easily. For instance, sometimes we chant this mantra of Brahma Samhita 5:29. Chintamani prakara sadma sukapa vriksha lakshabriteshu sudabir abhipalayantam lakshmi sahasra sata samrami sevyamanam govindamari purusham amaham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is tending the cows, yielding all desires, in abodes built with spiritual gems and surrounded by millions of purpose trees. He is always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. Because this prayer was offered by Lord Brahma, we follow him by reciting this prayer. That is the easiest way to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The pure devotee never attempts to reach the Supreme Lord directly. The most important way to worship the Lord is to go through the disciplic succession of devotees. The prayers offered by Lord Shiva to the Supreme Personality of Godhead were thus repeated by the Prachetas, who were thus very successful in pleasing the Supreme Lord. Here, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is described as Puranjana. According to Madhvacharya, the living entity is called Puranjana because he has become an inhabitant of this material world. And under the influence of the three modes of material nature, he is forced to live within it. Why is Prabhupada quoting Madhvacharya on this verse? Because Madhvacharya has written a commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam, and that is the commentary he has made on this particular verse. So Srila Prabhupada, when he's translating the Bhagavatam, he has a book of the commentaries, the principal commentators. I think there's 11 or 14, something like that, including Srimad Vacharya. So as he gives the translation, then he consults all those commentaries, and all the commentaries are listed after each verse. The verse is given, then the commentaries are given, and then he composes his purport. So here's referring to the purport given by Madhvacharya, that the living entities are called Puranjana because they're living in this material world under the influence of the three modes of nature and forced to do so. Prabhupada continues. The Supreme Personality of Godhead creates this material world, Buddha, and he also enters within it. Andantarasta paramanu chayantarastam. The Lord enters within the heart of the living entity and within the atom. That's another quote from Brahma Samhita, by the way. Therefore, both the living entity and the Lord are called Puranjana. One Puranjana, the living entity, is subordinate to the Supreme Puranjana. Therefore, the duty of the subordinate Puranjana is to satisfy the Supreme Puranjana. That is devotional service. Lord Rudra, or Lord Shiva, is the original Acharya of the Vaishnava Sampradaya, called the Rudra Sampradaya. Rudra Gitana indicates that under the disciplic succession of Lord Rudra, the Prachetas achieved spiritual success. Can someone tell him to quit talking out there, to go somewhere? He's out there. Tell them to go somewhere else or just to be quiet. It's very distracting. So the Sanskrit again. Thank you. Well done. Is he on the phone?
Huh?
Was he on the phone?
No, it's a huddle
Oh, it was a huddle. Okay. What play are we going to do next? Maitreya uvacha prachetaso narta udadhao pitur adeshakarinaha japaya gena tapasa puranjanam atoshayan. The great sage Maitreya said the sons of King Prachinabahi, known as the Prachetas, underwent severe austerities within the seawater to carry out the order of their father. By chanting and repeating the mantras given by Lord Shiva, they were able to satisfy Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mukum karoti vachalam angam lagayate girim jatkripa tamaham bande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam. So, very interesting, wonderful verse. And again, classic Srila Prabhupada knocking it out of the park in the purport. So sometimes people, they want to worship Krishna directly. But here Prabhupada says, you can offer your prayers, but better to offer the prayers that have already been offered by the great authorities. Mahajano Inagata Sapanta. That is a quote from the Mahabharata. Tarko Patishta Shutayo Vibina Nashavrashir Yasha Matam Nabinam Dharmasha Tatvam Nihitam Guhayam Mahajano Yenagata Sapanta. So simply by Tarko Pratishta, the dry arguments and speculation, one cannot understand the Lord or approach the Lord. Rashab Yashir Yashin Matam Nabinam. And anyway, if one wants to be considered a great rishi or a muni, then he has to have his own philosophy. He has to concoct his own philosophy in order to be recognized as a great original thinker, like in the academic institutions, that one becomes a PhD by positing a thesis and then proving that thesis by his own research and arguments. Of course, they quote other people too. And sometimes the person will be doing their thesis on discrediting the thesis of someone else. Not uncommon. This is very common in the academic world. But that's called, in the language of Mahabharata, Nishavashir Yasha Natam Nabhinam. So that's not the method of understanding the truth. Where do you find the truth then? One may ask. Rightly so. If that dry arguments and speculation and becoming an original thinker are not the proper avenues by which to progress towards the truth, where are you going to look? Where are you going to find the truth? And that's entered in the next pada of this shloka. Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam. That the real truth of Dharma, Dharmasya tattvam, nihitam guhayam, is hidden within the heart of the self-realized persons. So the pure devotee is one who has Krishna and he can give you Krishna. Therefore, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that he's praying to the spiritual master that you have Krishna and I am simply running behind you, chanting Krishna, Krishna. So one has to follow, therefore, the conclusion of that verse. Mahajano yena gata sapanta. Panta means the path. Mahajano yena. The path that's chalked out by the Mahajanas. Who knows who the Mahajanas are? Chayambo Naradar Shambhu Kumara Kapilo Manu Pralada Janaka Bhishmo Bala Vaya Sakir Vaya. That's spoken in the Bhagavatam 8th canto, I believe. maybe the 6th canto. I have to look it up. But that's the verse that explains Swayambhur. Who's Swayambhu? That's Lord Brahma. Swayambhu means self-born. He's not born from like a mother. He has no mother. He's motherless. But he's not homeless because he has the shelter of the lotus flower that grows from the navel of Lord Vishnu. Of course, he's born from the Lord, but because he has not taken birth in the normal way from the womb of a mother, he is Swayambhu. This is the original virgin birth that we find in other places and other religious cultural traditions. So Swayambhu Narada, Narada Muni Bhajai Bina, Radhika Ramana Nami, Namayamani Ujita Hoy, Bhakta Gita Sanghe. That's a song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur describing the glories of Narada Muni, who's traveling throughout the creation, singing the glories, Radhika Ramana, Radhika Ramana, chanting the name of Krishna and playing on his veena, spiritually surcharged musical instrument. So that's Narada Muni. Swayambhu Narada Shambhu. Shambhu is Lord Shiva. That's another name for Lord Shiva, Shambhu. Swayambhu Narada Shambhu Kumara, before Kumaras. Kapilo, Lord Kapila. Manu, Swayambhuva Manu. Prahlada Janaka Bhishmo, Prahlad Maharaj, Janaka Maharaj, the father of Sita Devi, King Janaka. And Bhishma, grandfather Bhishma, the great grandsire and spiritual and material head of both the Kuru and the Pandava dynasties. Grandfather Bhishma, Prahlada Janaka Bhishma, Bali Maharaj, who surrendered everything, Atmanivedanam, to Krishna. Balir Vyasakir Swayam. Who is Vyasaki? Devotee in Vrindavan that chants nice bhajans, sometimes comes, our old friend Vyasaki, who's over 80 years old now. No, he's Vyasaki Das, but that is a name for Shukadev Goswami. Bala Vyasakir Vyam. And Vyam means we ourselves. And that refers to Jamaraj, who is speaking that verse. So that's in connection with when so it's the 6th canto, yeah. When the Yamadutas tried to take the soul of Ajamil from his body, and he chanted, Narayana. And then the Vishnu Dutas came and they said, stop. You cannot take the soul of this person because he has chanted the name of Narayana and therefore he is cleansed of all his sins. And when the Vishnu Dutas spoke to the Yamadutas, who had never encountered them before, never even heard of them or seen them, and they spoke in these very grave voices resembling the thundering of clouds. It's described, and they were extremely beautiful because they have what? Swarupa. They have the same bodily form as the Lord. The bluish complexion, wearing the flower garlands, forearms, looking very beautiful, wearing dazzling yellow colored garments. Today is Thursday. You're supposed to wear yellow on Thursday. You've done right. See, me too. Told to me by one astrologer.
All the colors combined, so I got yellow one.
Yeah. Or none of the colors. Yes, Thursday is Jupiter, Brihaspati. So that color is yellow. That was advised to me by one astrologer. Not that I follow astrologers very closely, but I do have a shirt for Thursday. So, yeah, yellow. So the Yamadutas were greatly perplexed because their duty is to take these sinful conditioned souls at the time of death and then bring them to Jamaraj for punishment. But then they were stopped, which had never happened before, by the Vishnu Dutas, who were clearly more powerful than them. The Yamadutas are kind of ugly, and they're portrayed as, look kind of like, zombies or some kind of creatures from the lower planet. All ugly and like the henchmen of Yamaraj, and there's agents of death, and so they're not very nice. And people in the medical profession can attest to people seeing the Yamadutas at the time of death, people who work in hospitals and stuff. The Yamadutas come and they go, "No! Get out! Get away from me!" And they say, "Oh yeah, that." And so a devotee witnessed this, actually. Someone leaving their body, and the Yamadutas come from them, and they were trying to get away, and they couldn't, they were helpless. And he was like, "Wow," and he said to the nurse, "Man, what happened there?" And she said, "Oh yeah, that happens all the time." Yeah, because the people are sinful, and then they're dying. The Yamadutas are coming with their ropes to tie up the soul, grab him with the rope, and then jerk him out of the body, take him away to Yamaraj. Very fearful. And at that time, one passes stool and urine out of fear. Of course, there's another biological explanation that when one leaves the body, then there's no longer control of the muscular, system. Everything goes, so you lose it. You don't keep your, yeah.
Also, if you die separately, isn't that where you leave your body?
What?
Or you leave from that area?
You mean Australia, down under?
Well, I heard spiritually, leave from your head, but I heard separately you leave from
Yeah, it depends. It depends. Yes, that's the long tunnel of death. When one exits out the back door. So anyway, this was attested to by the medical staff. Oh yeah, we see this all the time. Somebody's coming to get them. When I was a kid, they told the story about. It was a campfire story about somebody had robbed a grave and they'd taken the liver from the dead man's body. A boy named Johnny, and then the mantra was, "Johnny, I want my liver back. I'm gonna get you." And that's a kind of a story to scare little kids. Like 9, 10-year-old boys tell this kind of story around a campfire. So the Yamadutas are scary like that, very scary. But when they encountered the Vishnu Dutas, they were defeated. They were outpowered. And so they went back to Yamaraj and they go, we thought, first of all, I had a discussion with the Vishnu Dutas in which they were defeated. And then they went back to Yamaraj and they thought, we thought that you were the supreme authority. And we can't understand how someone can be more powerful than you and can stop us from carrying out your orders. So then Yamaraj explained to the Yamadutas that actually Lord Vishnu is the supreme power. Shajanti Tashmai Prabhavishnave Namaha. Therefore, he is worthy of being taken shelter of, because he is the supreme power. That's a verse from the second canto. Kerata Hunandra Pulinda Pulkasha Abira Shamba Yavana Kashadayaha Yene Chapapa Padapa Shraya Shraya Shadhanti Tashmai Prabhavishnave Namaha. That there are many sinful persons belonging to different races, and they're named there, like the Abiras, the Shambhas, the Kashadas, the Yavanas, etc. Prabhupada says in the purport, the Yavanas are the Turks. And the Kashadas is Kazakhstan. Kasa, same thing. So, not casa in Spanish, but not that casa. But, so it names all these different sinful races and says, Yenecha papa parapashraya shaya. That the Lord, He is the supreme power. Shojanti toshmai prabhavishnave namaha. And therefore He is worthy of taking shelter of Vishnave, Lord Vishnu. So very enlightening, nice verse. And that verse is also a sort of a solace for those of us who have taken birth in non-pious races and families, which is many of us, not Jamuna. She's taken pious birth in the Nepali family where they observe the cultural traditions of Krishna consciousness, of devotional service. And so she's born into that. She's not included in that list. But the rest of us here in the room at the moment, I think I can speak for all of us and say, yes, we have taken birth in these, lower birth in these sinful families. But Shajanti Tashmai Prabhavishnave Namaha, because we have taken shelter of the supreme power, then and all these different sinful races, they are capable of taking shelter of the Supreme Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada says that as far as we are concerned, that all human beings are capable or eligible of taking shelter of Krishna, regardless of their cultural, societal, religious, family, economic, political, place of country, or whatever particular circumstances. Everyone in the human form of life is eligible to become Krishna conscious. There's no one that is exempt, except maybe President of the United States. Who is exhibits all the qualities in the 16th chapter that we find a description of the demoniac: harsh, angry, envious, vengeful, repressive, trying to lord it over everyone. So these things are going on. So Janti Toshmai Prabhavishnave Namaha. So we are very fortunate to have obtained the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. This Krishna conscious movement is His mercy, which He is representing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whose mission of mercy is very powerful and prominent in the Kali Yuga. And we can bear witness to this because that mercy has saved us most certainly from our particular circumstance in life and our karma. When I think back on my karma and what was my life before I came to Krishna consciousness, I shudder. It was so inauspicious. And coming from a dark place and heading to a darker place. But the intervention of the chanting of the holy name and the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just took all that away, wiped it out, like it never even happened. It's no longer relevant. What is relevant is practicing Krishna consciousness, hearing, chanting, serving, remembering, associating with devotees, taking prasad, doing all the activities of devotional service. And Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Yajeta Purusham Param, the Bhagavatam says in the second canto, that akamo sarvakamo va moksha kama udaradi, that whether akama, you have no desire, sarvakama, you're filled with all desires. Now look in the mirror and tell me if that doesn't remind you of someone. Filled with all desires, all inauspicious desires. Sarvakama, udadadi. Moksha kama, one who's simply only desiring liberation. I've not met many people like that in this life. There are certainly not many persons like that available in Pima County, for example. Not so many, perhaps none. But Tivrena Bhakti Yogena, whatever is your position, no desire, again, not many of those. Filled with all desires, okay, that's everybody. Moksha Kama Udadadi, or if one is simply after liberation, then Tivrena Bhakti Yogena, one should perform Bhakti Yoga, Tivra, which is powerful, like a ray of sunlight. That's called Tivra. So the ray of sun, as we know here in the desert, that sun is very powerful. It'll cook the paint right off of your house. It'll cook the paint right off of your car. It'll render your tires mush if you leave them in the sun. Therefore, you see the snowbirds that have the mobile homes and the RVs, when they park it, they have these special tire covers that they put over it to protect the tires from the Arizona sun. Snowbirds, they're, like up back home in Michigan or Minnesota or, Toronto or wherever they're from, that's not a problem. But down here, cover those tires. They do the same thing in Florida also. In the park, they park the RV for the snowbird season. They cover those tires because the sun, the Tivra, is very powerful. It is so powerful that you can have a little pool of urine, a very filthy thing, and then the sun will dry it up and it'll purify it, and the place will be no longer contaminated. So that's the power of the sun. It can purify the contamination. So Tivrena Bhakti Yogena, the devotional service of the Lord, is very powerful, and it can purify the sinful, contaminated heart of any living entity, regardless of their background or their position. And in Kali Yuga, everyone pretty much has the same kind of deal going on. The heart full of ignominious, contaminated, nefarious desires to enjoy the material energy. And one that by that Tivrena Bhakti Yogena, practicing that powerful devotional service, that contamination that's within the heart is like baked out, like the powerful ray of sun, and one is left in a pure condition. That is the power of Krishna consciousness. That is the power of the holy name of Lord Krishna. So do not neglect your chanting of the holy names. That is very powerful. So in this verse, there's a mention about the different sampradayas. There are 4 bona fide Vaishnava sampradayas, namely the Rudra sampradaya, that is the sampradaya coming from Lord Shiva. Then there's the Brahma sampradaya, of which we are members, coming from Lord Brahma. And the acharyas in the Rudra sampradaya are Vishnu Swami, who also has written commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, and Vallabhacharya, the head of the Pushti Marg, the primarily Gujarati branch of the Rudra Sampradaya. We've mentioned them before, and they have the temple of Sri Nathji, who is the Gopal deity of Madhavendra Puri, in Natwar. And their mantras are Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama, I surrender to you, Lord Krishna. And there are also slogans, Jai Shri Krishna. So the Gujaratis will say like that, who are coming from this Vallabha or Rudra Sampradaya, of which the Prachetas have accepted Lord Shiva as their guru, and they're chanting the mantras, chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva, one chapter in the Bhagavatam. Then there's the Sri Sampradaya. Sri refers to Lakshmi Devi, and the Acharya, the most important Acharya of that Sampradaya is, who knows? Ramanuja Acharya, the great 10th, 11th century reviver of bhakti in the Indian subcontinent, who was very much intent on defeating the Mayavadi philosophy. And then there's the Kumar Sampradaya, coming from the four Kumars. And the Acharya, the prominent Acharya, or Pratishta Acharya in that Sampradaya is Nimbarka Acharya, South Indian. And all these four Sampradayas are originate from South India, interestingly enough. So each Sampradaya has their own particular take on the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. The Sri Sampradaya, of which Ramanujacharya is the main teacher, their philosophy is called Vishishtadvaita, qualified non-dualism. And that refers to the fact that they say the jivas and the jagat, the universe, are distinct from Brahman, or the supreme Brahman, who is Vishnu. And also here, I need my glasses for this. Yeah, I need my glasses because I can't read. No, because I can't read my own writing. Because it's chicken scratches. So the jivas and jagat are distinct from Brahman, but they're part of it and are inseparable. And they worship Vishnu, Narayan, or they're also big devotees of Sita Ram. So they worship Lord Ram. And then the Brahma Sampradaya, of whom the principal Acharya is Madhvacharya, the philosophy is called Dvaita, Dvaitavad. And that means the complete and eternal difference between Vishnu, the jivas, and matter. So that is Madhvacharya's contribution, and he fought long and hard to defeat the impersonal philosophy, the Mayavad philosophy of Shankaracharya. That was his mission in life. And he wrote many, many books. We spoke about him just last week because of his appearance day. Then, in the Rudra Sampradaya, the philosophy is known as Shuddhadvaita. And that refers to the fact they think that the entire universe is real and is subtly Brahman. And Brahman is the form of Krishna. So that's nice. Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. That's the Rudra Sampradaya. And then the Kumara Sampradaya, the philosophy of Nimbarka Acharya, is called Dvaita Dvaitavad, the dualistic non-dualism. Now there's a mouthful for you. What do you believe? Oh, I'm into dualistic non-dualism. Tell that to the cashier at Trader Joe's. Actually, one time at Trader Joe's, I explained the Chincha Beta Beta Tattva to the cashier, and he goes, that sounds good to me. So, in the Dvaita Dvaita, dualistic non-dualism, the jiva, the living entity, and the universe are both different from and non-different from Brahman. Kind of similar to Achincha Beta Beta Tattva. And then we were just talking the other day about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He has taken elements of all of those philosophies from the four Sampradayas, although appearing in being initiated and belonging to the Madhava Sampradaya, and synthesized the complete Vedic understanding, the complete Vaishnava understanding in the form of Achintya Beta Beta Tattva. Achintya means inconceivable. Bed means sameness, oneness. Abed means difference. Achintya Beta Beta Tattva. So the real truth is simultaneously, inconceivably, the Lord is one with and different from his creation, from the living entities and the universe. So we are simultaneously one with, like the Mayavadis say, the Mayavadis want to become one with Brahman, right? They want to merge into Brahman. Just like when the Mayavadi goes to the pizza shop and he orders the pizza. Make me one with everything. Right? Make me one with everything. Is he talking about the pizza or is he talking about his existence? Because he's a Mayavadi, he's talking about the truth. I want to become one with everything. Everything is one. And they always use that example of the drops of water in the ocean, like this Mayavadi lady that stayed here. She had cornered Gauranga Prema, poor guy, and he was like, didn't know what to do with her. He was like, help. And she was saying this, the drops of water in the ocean, but the drops of water, she said, do not know that they are the ocean. As soon as I heard that, I'm like, okay, time to pull out the hammer. And I explained to her that this is the Mayavadi philosophy of Shankaracharya, which is Mayavadam Ashat Shastram. It is based on Asat Shastra, bogus scriptures. What is that bogus scripture? That's the Sharyudika Bhashya, the commentary of Shankara on the Vedanta Sutra. And this is, since the time Shankaracharya preached very powerfully throughout India, and everybody was a Mayavadi. And then along came Ramanujacharya a couple hundred years later. It's like, nope. And then Madhvacharya, no way, this is bogus. And they were attempting to drive the Mayavadi philosophy out of Indian society, but we're not completely successful because it's still there. So unfortunately, I had to enlighten her and explain that this Mayavadi philosophy has ruined the Vedic culture because it is an offense to Krishna. Yes, Krishna, I am Krishna, you are Krishna, we are all Krishna. Krishna is a manifestation of Brahman, like I am a manifestation of Brahman, and you are a manifestation of Brahman. What does that remind you of? I Am the Walrus by the Beatles. I am he as you are he and you are me and we are all together. So one Yogi Bhajan had met with Prabhupada and said, we want to have a big conference and we want to bring everyone together. You know, I'll share the peace, the love and the joy. Everyone together, everyone one, everyone the same. We want everyone to get together. And Prabhupada said, you will never get together. You will never agree because you will never surrender to Krishna. When you surrender to Krishna, then agreement will be found. So this Mayavadi philosophy has actually ruined Vedic culture, ruined India, contaminated with this offensive philosophy. And part of the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is to destroy this offensive Mayavad conception. He says in there, Mayavadi Bhasha Sunle Hoyanash, that if you listen to or associate with these Mayavadis and hear this philosophy, your bhakti becomes destroyed. It's a great destroyer of bhakti. And bhakti is the actual original culture of India. And by propagating this Mayavad philosophy, then the true implementation of Vedic culture has been destroyed or contaminated in a very bad way. So the chanting of the holy names is meant to revive that natural condition. So therefore it said about Shankaracharya, Mayavadam Ashastram Pratchanam Bodham Uchate. It's just Buddhism, which is atheism. And Shankaracharya was trying to drive Buddhism out of India, but he came up with this Mayavadi philosophy, which is attractive to the Buddhists, because they are also atheists. So, okay, we're atheists, and you're Prachanam Bodhamuchate preaching this atheist philosophy. That's cool. We like that. We'll accept that. But it was under the context or the cover of the Vedas, whereas Buddha had thrown out the Vedas. So the next step in restoration was, okay, here's a Buddha-like philosophy, but it's Vedic. Oh, okay. I like that. That's cool. But to take shelter of this Mayavad philosophy, it is an offense because one is taking Brahman, Krishna, and Brahman has no hands, Brahman has no legs, he has no face. You ever seen those Christian tracts where they have the God up on the throne and he has no face? No man has seen the face of God. They're Mayavadis. They don't believe in God. They got a picture of God up on mighty judge, the big judge on the throne. Order in the courtroom. Here comes the judge. Right? And he's got no face. You cannot see the face of God. God has no name. God has no face. God has no pastimes. God has no form. God has no qualities. That's a big offense. It's like if I say to you, you don't exist. You're not real. You're just nothing. Get out of my room. You're just worthless. You're nothingness. You have no qualities. You have no individuality. Like, hey man, I show you some individuality right here. I show you 5 individuals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Knuckle sandwich. And somebody says that to you, you're not going to take it kindly. So the Lord tolerates, he's very merciful, but this is offensive, not good for the living entity. So Ramanuja Acharya, Madhvacharya, they have preached very vociferously to defeat this Mayavad understanding. And that is also the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to defeat this Mayavad philosophy, which he did, as we have spoken many times about Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He was Mayavadi number 1. He was such a big Mayavadi that even though he was a Grihastha, he preached Mayavad and taught Mayavad to the Mayavadi sannyasis. Usually the sannyasis are above the Grihasthas. But he was such a big Mayavadi that even the sannyasis came to him for Mayavad instruction. And so then he wanted to, when he saw Lord Chaitanya, this beautiful Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this big, beautiful, effulgent, youthful, shining, glorious personality, he said, oh, you're a young man, you need to study, you need to hear Vedanta from me. Lord Chaitanya was like, hey, okay. So Lord Chaitanya didn't say anything for 7 days. Here we go, the Mayavad. And then finally, Sarvabhauma, well, have you understood? I've been preaching you for 7 days. You haven't said a word. You haven't asked a question. Nothing. You understand what I'm saying? Do you understand Vedanta? And then Chaitanya let him have it. Oh yes, I understand Vedanta perfectly, but I don't understand any of this nonsense that you're talking. He said, Vedanta is self-effulgent like the sun, and you're trying to cover the sun with the clouds of your speculations. And he completely disarmed Sarvabhauma and converted him into a first-class Vaishnava. And this is I can see in the line they're taking. It's a great victory against Mayavad. So we're going to stop here due to the enthusiasm of the devotees for the next process of devotional service. And thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
It's funny, you were saying the analogy with pizza, and then there's